Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hello, welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made it to the local cannabis show, and I'm flying solo tonight. Our friend Reverend Will couldn't be with us. So we always have openings for guests, so anytime you'd like to come on the show and speak your mind about the cannabis issues, let us know. You're certainly welcome. I got some interesting stories here from all around the United States and the world and back to the United States again. I came across an interesting story here. North Dakota, medical marijuana petitions have been handed in. It says North Dakota could be voting on medical marijuana in November. Proponents of a medical marijuana initiative there handed in about 20,000 signatures to the Secretary of State's office Monday. They need 13,500 valid voter signatures to qualify for the ballot. Election officials have about a month to review the signatures and decide whether they are valid. Sponsored by North Dakotans for Compassionate Care, the initiative would allow people suffering from specified illnesses, including cancer, glaucoma, and PTSD, to use marijuana with a doctor's recommendations. Patients could possess up to 2.5 ounces and could grow up to 12 plants in an enclosed, locked space. Designated caregivers who would grow for more than one patient are limited to 30 plants. The initiative also contains provisions for cultivation, processing, and distribution centers or dispensaries. Such medical marijuana organizations would be registered with the state. Medical marijuana has never come before the North Dakota legislature, and this is the first time a serious effort through the initiative process has been undertaken. Neighboring South Dakota is the only state to defeat an initiative legalizing medical marijuana and has done so twice. And by the way, a side note on South Dakota is also the only state in the union that has a consumption by possession statute. So in other words, you get caught in a drug test with an illegal drug in your system, you could be charged for illegal possession. So that shows how backward things can get within our own country. 17 states and the District of Columbia have medical marijuana laws, including North Dakota's western neighbor, Montana. Dave Schwartz, the group's treasurer, said he believed public attitudes about medical marijuana in North Dakota have shifted in favor of those who advocate for it. Many people know someone who has suffered from chronic pain, a debilitating illness, or cancer chemotherapy. And there is growing knowledge that marijuana can help, he told the Associated Press. Some of the myths that we often hear is that this is only for people who just go ahead and get high, and that's not the case. This is about medical patients that would benefit greatly from it. And that's very true. I'm amazed in my travels and work with medical marijuana patients how it really does help patients. Some patients are able to cut down on their prescription meds. Some have been able to quit prescription meds altogether. It just depends on each case, but it's definitely a help to patients, and it's certainly more than just something in their head. And speaking of the states, it's another interesting thing. The new Hemp Bill introduced in the U.S. Senate. A bipartisan group of senators has introduced a bill that would exclude industrial hemp from the definition of marijuana. The bill, if passed, would get around the DEA's refusal to differentiate hemp from marijuana and could result in American farmers being allowed to grow the industrial hemp. The bill, Senate Bill 3501, was introduced last week by Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat, Oregon, and co-sponsored by Senators Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, Bernie Sanders, Independent, Vermont, and Jeff Merkley, Democrat, Oregon. It would amend the Controlled Substances Act to make clear that hemp is not a drug, even though it is part of the cannabis family. Hemp has much more levels of THC than marijuana grown for recreational or medicinal purposes. The bill marks Wyden's second attempt this year to get hemp delisted. He tried to offer an amendment to the Farm Bill the Senate passed in June to do just that, but the Senate leadership ruled the amendment was not germane. I firmly believe that American farmers should not be denied an opportunity to grow and sell a legitimate crop simply because it resembles an illegal one, Wyden said. Raising this issue has sparked a growing awareness of exactly how ridiculous the U.S.'s ban on industrial hemp is. I'm confident that if grassroots support continues to grow and members of Congress continue to hear from voters, then common sense hemp legislation can move through Congress in the near future. The bill has been referred to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Meanwhile, another bill, House Resolution 1831, which would also clarify that hemp is not marijuana for the purposes of the Controlled Substances Act, languishes in the Republican-controlled House. So it's at least that's our own legislators out of Oregon that are actually working on that. So we should have our hats off to them and give them support. It wouldn't hurt to write some letters to your representatives too, to tell them how you feel about that. That definitely hemp is a product, and it's a meaningful product, and the prejudices against it certainly aren't warranted. The thing I didn't bring in, I'll have it talk in more detail in another show, is the Measure 80. Measure 80 is the OCTA, the Oregon Cannabis Taxation Act. I just want to get some updates on that. It is on the ballot. It will be on the ballot in November 6th. So now is the time to register to vote. It's the dream of a lot of us to have a legalization initiative on the ballot, and we actually are going to, that's happening this November. So now the big push is to register and vote. You have till October 16th to register to vote in time to be able to vote in the election, because you have to be registered 3 weeks prior to the election. So October 16th is the magic date. That's 66 days from right now as I'm speaking. So it's very important to register to vote and get your friends and family registered to vote. The campaign is short on money. They overextended themselves a little bit just getting it on the ballot. So right now they're really scrambling. There's not much money for a campaign at this point, which is unfortunate because we do it out on the ballot. Now we need to really start campaigning, but there isn't really any money to campaign. So what everybody can do on their own is what we're going to be what we're going to have to work with, it looks like. So that's why we're spreading the word to register to vote. You can pick up voter registration cards at your library, post office, and of course the election office in Eugene. And of course I don't have the address in my head, but it's about 2 blocks from the library. So that's real important. It's the Oregon Cannabis Taxation Act, and that is the chief petitioner on that is Paul Stanford. Paul Stanford's an old friend of ours. I've known him for all the years I've been an activist, 15 plus years. He's the CEO of the THC Foundation, which has clinics in I think 6 or 7 states where helping patients get their cards. Paul's told me many times that the reason he has done all this is to raise enough money so we can legalize personal use of cannabis, and that's exactly what we've got on the ballot. 21 and above, you can legally possess, grow. It can be sold through the state through a special, similar to the OLCC kind of a deal, or you can, like I said, grow your own without a permit. That's 21 and above, so it's very important. So we definitely need to vote on that and register to vote and get your friends and family. It's kind of interesting that we have it on the ballot and now our own activists in the state aren't really doing much. Paul Stanford has made a lot of, some people have badmouthed Paul Stanford in the past. Personally, I believe that the only thing that he's guilty of, perhaps if that, is being overzealous and trying too hard, but he definitely believes in legalization and put his heart and soul into it. So anyway, we need to help him out and help ourselves out and get it legalized.
And now a message from the American Marijuana Growers Association.
Hi, I'm a farmer, and I work hard every day to grow high-quality marijuana, the biggest cash crop in these United States. I'd like to thank you for your support of U.S. marijuana policy. Because marijuana is illegal, I don't have to pay taxes. Even better, prohibition leads to artificially inflated prices, which means a better quality of life for me and my family, as long as I don't get caught. Just as importantly, your tax dollars support thousands of U.S. agents who work tirelessly to keep low-grade, foreign marijuana out of our country. So thank you, America. And remember, whether you're nauseated from chemotherapy or just in the mood for a nice cool buzz, choose the best pot in the world, American homegrown.
I was up at the state capitol and I told Bill Morissette when he was in Congress that the solutions were sitting right in front of him, but he didn't want to hear them. And as far as that went, I said, if you really want to set an example, P-test yourself and all the other people in Congress, because the decisions that you're making, you got to be more than stoned, because none of them make any sense. So these are the kind of things that we can do, and you don't have to be afraid that they're going to come knocking on your door because you called Congress and said, hey, can you finally wake up and help us here? We're trying to help you to be able to maintain. I have always said that the hemp industry here, the people who are doing herb, medically, spiritually, and recreationally, are the people that are the foundation of what makes everything work. You want our money, but you don't want to listen to us, you don't want to support us, you don't want to support our ideas, you don't want to support the industries that we can bring in here. So how can you complain when the solution's here and you're the ones who are choosing not to hear us? So understand, folks, you know, it is up to us. We have to work together. We have to create the vision that allows it to be. For myself, I'm telling people, you got a phone, you got a computer, send off messages to all these different people. Send off messages to Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg, like I talked about yesterday. Not so much to come here and do a concert, because I don't know if Ken Kesey ever would get it together to have a concert that didn't cost an arm and a leg. For me, I want Willie and Snoop Dogg to come here and party with us. To be with us. You know, carry around an acoustic guitar, Snoop. Willie, just play. You know, sit down with some friends. Yeah, we got people who back them up. If they want to play, we'll put something together. But one of my simple ideas here for us in taking back our power is next year, instead of being in this little caged area, which they say, oh, you can be here and you can do what you want, don't do anything we don't want you to do, because otherwise we'll come in and take it away from you. But I would like us to have this whole park from here to Alton Baker and have different aspects of what we would like people to see happening in the different areas. For instance, this here, a 3-day, 24-hour drum circle happening at the Rose Garden. Then in the next area, we would have history, education, and showing people what we can do industrially. Going over to Alton Baker Park, we could have food and medibles. This is a perfect opportunity for us to bypass Seattle and be bigger than Seattle. The biggest hemp fest in the Northwest, making it happen. But we've got to do it. So let's all get together and do what we can to make this difference. Be kind to your brothers and sisters and the animals and the insects, the 4 directions. I mean, if we honor the 4 directions, I see blue sky over here. We've been threatened by gray clouds all day, but the gray clouds are being awesome and moving right by us. So when you appreciate everything that's happening in your life, and you are accountable for everything you do, not most of the things you do, not some of the things you do, but all the things you do, then you have input into everything that's going on around you. The Church of the Caring is the church that I belong to, and it's all about caring. It's all about doing service. We've been doing service work forever and not gotten the appreciation. Well, let's do it a little better, be more creative, not blame the other guy for not getting what we're putting out. Work harder. We'll get better results and we'll make the difference. Thank you very much.
As you know, the Olympics just came to an end, and this issue came up. The expulsion of Olympic athlete for marijuana raises questions. Nick DiPapalo was expelled from the London 2012 Olympic Games Monday after he tested positive for marijuana. And that has some experts raising questions about whether it makes sense to include marijuana on the World Anti-Doping Agency's list of banned substances. DiPapalo said he had inadvertently consumed marijuana and a food item he did not know contained it. Side note there, that reminds me a little bit of the controversy, and I've forgotten his full name, but the skateboarder that was, I think it was the Japan Winter Olympics, where he tested positive for marijuana. And I remember Jay Leno came up with this shortly after that and said that we live in a strange world. He says Bill smoked marijuana but didn't inhale, and Barry didn't inhale. Let's see, I blew the joke. And see, Barry, yeah, but Barry, anyway, he had a different contact high. So anyway, it was an interesting controversy, and so now we have this situation. And saying that he inadvertently ate something and didn't know it was in it. Concerns about athletes cheating by using performance-enhancing drugs is one thing, but the use of recreational drugs that do not enhance and could well detract from competitive performance is another. Recreational drugs are banned not because they might provide an athlete with an unfair advantage, but because their use by athletes can cause public relations problems for organized sports, which like to tout athletes as role models for youth. But some experts told Reuters Monday that sports PR concerns were no reason to ban athletes for using marijuana. They also suggested the time, expense, and effort of drug testing athletes might be better spent going after real cheats who do blood doping with EPO or use antibiotic steroids to increase muscle growth and testosterone levels. There's no evidence cannabis is ever performance enhancing in sport, and since its use is legal in a number of countries, there's no reason for it to be banned by the WADA, said David Nutt, a professor of neuropsychopharmacology at Imperial College London. I can't think of any sport in which it would be an advantage. It seems ludicrous that someone would quite legally smoke cannabis in Amsterdam in the morning and then come over to London in the afternoon and be banned from competing. But marijuana is banned by WADA, and that means athletes caught using it during a competition face a 2-year ban. Still, unlike performance-enhancing drugs, WADA does not punish athletes who test positive for pot outside of competitions. That stance has led some scientists to suggest that WADA's reason for banning marijuana is political, not scientific. The problem is the elite athletes should be seen as role models for young kids, and so they ban cannabis because they don't want to have the image of gold medalists smoking joints, said one British-based sports scientist who asked not to be identified because of the sensitivity of the issue. The editor notes, if officials don't link images of athletes smoking marijuana, they might have a poor strategy. No one knew DiPaolo used it before he was sanctioned, but now everyone does. It's hard to imagine how smoking a joint or eating marijuana brownies is going to help someone in judo, said Michael Joyner, a member of the Psychological Society and researcher at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota in the United States. My advice to WADA is that they should focus on drugs that are clearly performance enhancing in sports where they are clearly performance enhancing. According to WADA, substance merit inclusion on its banned substances list. If they meet 2 or 3 criteria, they are proven to be performance enhancing. They are dangerous to the health of athletes, or they are contrary to the spirit of the sport. There is little or no evidence that marijuana can enhance sporting performance. While there is evidence it could have a negative impact, it can slow reaction times, cause coordination problems, and reduce hand-eye coordination, none of which is going to increase an athlete's chances of victory. While marijuana is not harm-free, there is little evidence it is dangerous to the health of athletes. Nor is it clear why marijuana use would be contrary to the spirit of sport. WADA isn't keen to clarify. It refused to comment Monday on a Reuters query about why marijuana is banned. So once again, it's the prejudices, in the cannabis movement. We come across that all the time. We send out press releases and they're ignored. Perfect example of that is the Emerald Empire Hempfest. We've been sending out press releases every year prior to our Hempfest to all the media. In the past, we might have 1, maybe 2 TV stations will show up. I think that was 2 years ago, the last time that happened. In the meantime, the Registered Guard, every chance they get, they have a story promoting the Oregon Country Fair for a week before it happens. 2 years ago, every single day for a week, they had some kind of a story about the Oregon Country Fair in the Registered Guard. And of course, Eugene Celebration and Art in the Vineyard, all that gets all this great free publicity. In the meantime, they ignore the Emerald Empire Hempfest, and frankly, I believe that it's a form of discrimination. But with the legalization and ballot on the agenda, or rather on the ballot, I think people can't ignore us much longer. So it's all working in our favor. So as we continue to have a successful event, a very good event, hopefully they can't keep ignoring us and pretending like we don't exist, because we are existing since 2003, and they're sitting in a city park. But you wouldn't know it by the local news media. And now we take off and go all the way around the world to Uruguay. A plan by Uruguay's leaders to turn the government into the nation's marijuana dealer has been presented to Congress, where the idea faces an uncertain fate. President Jose Muca's entire cabinet signed onto the proposed law, which aims to take over an illegal marijuana trafficking business estimated to be worth $30 million to $40 million a year. The law would have government control marijuana imports, production, sale, and distribution, creating a legal market for people to get pot without turning to riskier illegal drugs. The text submitted to Congress on Wednesday declares that the drug war is a failure and that marijuana is only mildly addictive, unlike cocaine, alcohol, tobacco, and psychotropic drugs. But lawmakers are divided on the idea, even within Muca's broad front coalition of leftist parties and social groups. Muca has said he'll push the plan only if it gets at least 60% support in polls. An official in the president's press office, speaking on condition of autonomy, and according to department policy, said the bill isn't expected to advance quickly. The text says the project's goals include the normalization and full social acceptance of marijuana use so that consumers aren't stigmatized nor treated as criminals. So maybe a small country halfway around the world, but what an idea. So that is exciting, every little chink in the armor. So anyway, that's the news that I have for tonight, and we appreciate your hanging in there as I stumble along and telling you the news, but I do like to educate on cannabis issues. If you have any questions on cannabis issues, you always send us an email through the email addresses you shall see on the on your screen. And I have the pamphlet, Just Say No. It's KNW, Just Say No. That has information on medical, where to go to get your card, nonprofit groups that you can contact once you get your card to help you get your medicine, grow your medicine. All that's in the pamphlet. Just Say No. You send us an email and I can get that to you. It's a Word document, real easy to download and print out. And that information is there simply for you, the patient. So anyway, we're going to back out of here, and you've got DanK. You got Dan Kuzer, and appreciate our crew making all this possible. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Penitentiary, so unjustly treated, planting sincere. Souls are lost in a penitentiary, so unjustly treated, planting sincere. Souls are lost. Souls are lost. Souls are lost. Souls are lost. Souls are lost in a penitentiary. The man get behind bars and his soul is no longer. Support them.